Hi, I'm Jamie Miller, a registered SQF consultant and food safety consultant at Kellerman Consulting, and you are watching our video series on environmental monitoring programs. In this series, we have focused on how to build an effective environmental monitoring program for food and food packaging facilities. Regulatory oversight in these programs often occur during infrequent visits that are conducted annually or even less frequently. One major exception are facilities under FSIS jurisdiction, in which regular oversight occurs, often every day. Over the course of this episode, we are going to cover the main differences in environmental monitoring requirements in a meat or poultry facility with FSIS oversight, as well as how that impacts both approach and results. This video will be useful for both facilities that are under only FSIS jurisdiction, as well as facilities that operate under dual jurisdiction or FSIS and a second agency, such as the FDA or a state Department of Agriculture. The first topic we want to focus on is the swabbing of food contact surfaces. As we reviewed in our previous episode on how to conduct environmental swabbing, a facility should not choose to swab food contact surfaces for pathogens, as this can cause catastrophic outcomes if a pathogen is randomly found on a food contact surface and cleaning and sanitation activities are deemed invalid. In an FSIS regulated facility, and specifically those that process ready-to-eat products such as pork rinds, beef jerky, chicken salad, or cold cuts, the facility is required to control Listeria monocytogenes in accordance with FSIS guidance on controlling Listeria mono and post-lethality exposed ready-to-eat meat and poultry products. In this Listeria control guideline, there are three main options for demonstrating control of Listeria, with the most common option requiring valid cleaning and sanitation, along with testing of product and swabbing of food contact surfaces for Listeria. For facilities meeting their Listeria control requirements through swabbing and testing, there will be environmental swabbing taking on cooking equipment, conveyor belts, racks, or packaging equipment for ready-to-eat meat or poultry. The facility's FSIS inspector will often provide some level of indication where they would expect to see swabbing, and the FSIS guidelines pre-approval of the facility will include a review of the HACCP plan, SSOPs, and the Listeria control for ready-to-eat products at the facility, and at that point, FSIS regulators will approve or disapprove of the approach the facility intends to pursue. It is expected that an FSIS-approved swabbing program will not result in a positive for Listeria, but the facility will need to take special precautions in cleaning, sanitizing, food handling, and packaging to assure that positives do not lead to product contamination and disposal. For facilities that do not produce ready-to-eat products, food contact surfaces are not swabbed for Listeria, but a functional environmental monitoring program may be required by FSIS. In a case where no food contact surfaces are required for swabbing, the program may look closer to the type of program we laid out in our earlier episodes, except the facility should be prepared to share the locations, schedule, and results with the FSIS inspector each time a swabbing event occurs, as well as any and all corrective actions required where results are not acceptable to the facility. Here, we do want to point out that FSIS may allow for swabbing of indicator or quality organisms in place of pathogens, which it makes it easier to perform corrective actions without disruption to operations, but what organisms the facility will swab for, whether it is food safety or quality directed, is based on the risk assessment for the facility and products, as well as what is called for in the HACCP plan. All of the basic concepts we discussed in our earlier episodes in this series remain true for determining an approach in an FSIS facility, and the FSIS inspector or science officer can be considered to be a good resource once the quality and safety team has established their desired approach to swabbing in production areas. One additional aspect of an FSIS regulated facility we need to touch on is a situation where dual jurisdiction occurs for government regulations in a food facility. When FSIS regulates environmental monitoring for meat and poultry products and FDA regulates environmental monitoring for non-meat and poultry, the program would need to be split into two sections, one for each government agency. In this situation, the regular presence of an FSIS inspector and the maintenance of an environmental program in areas under FSIS inspection would take precedence over FDA areas since FSIS inspection is expected to occur more frequently. However, attention should be paid to swabbing FDA areas of the facility, and the facility will need to keep a swab schedule and records for when the FDA inspects the facility. Because of the way the regulations are split in the U.S., regulatory oversight by two agencies generally cannot occupy the same area since the rules and regulations are different. So an FSIS inspector will generally not accept swabbing in an FDA-regulated part of the facility as applicable to the FSIS side of the facility. Similarly, FDA will generally not accept results in an FSIS-regulated part of the facility as applicable to the FDA side. Now that we have looked at the basic and intermediate setup requirements for food safety programs, as well as some of the different regulatory requirements for meat and poultry facilities compared to non-meat and poultry, we can look more carefully at what to do when pathogens and quality organisms are discovered in a facility. Thank you for watching. For more food safety training videos and resources, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel or follow us on LinkedIn.